the bottom line is everybody thinks if we attack Putin, it's going to be World War III.
Why is Starmer putting someone who was openly friends with a known paedophile in such a prestigious role?
I met a lawyer a long time ago who prosecuted murderers, and he said, whatever anybody tells you, believe me when I tell you, some people are born evil.
Hello, I'm JJ Anisiobi, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Expresso. Hit that like button, and if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Now, today I'm joined by Express columnist Carole Malone, and let me warn you, she is in a bad mood.
I'm stressed.
Carole, how are you? How did you get in?
Stressed to hell and back. I did something else this morning, which took me 2 hours to get from my house to where it was, a TV studio.
Yeah.
And it should have taken like 45 minutes. And then I had a guy on the way here who was screaming at me all the time. I don't know why. Anyway, he was. And talking on his phone. And so I'm a little bit up here. I'm there. I'm on the ceiling.
Right.
But hopefully you will calm me down.
Well, why are you taking taxis everywhere? Why couldn't you just... Oh, right. Train strike.
Yeah. Funny train strike. That was a good old link in there, wasn't it? Yeah, there's, I was reading about the tube drivers yesterday. These guys, are on, their basic is about 78, but their salaries go up to 100 grand a year. And they're now asking for more. They're asking to work a 4-day week now. And they're asking for, you know what they're asking for? Legoland.
Legoland tickets.
Have you not heard this?
No.
So they want what's called a priv pass. This is part of the deal. So a privilege pass. What that means is you get 75% of all your rail fares all over the country free.
Nice.
Yeah, so when we have to pay top whack, they get it almost free. But you also get entrance, you get 2 for 1 into Legoland in Thorpe Park. So they want all of this as part of the settlement deal on top of the 100 grand a year. It's shocking.
That's a pretty good deal. I think I want a privilege pass.
No, you don't. I think we should get rid of that union. It's the RMT. We should get rid of it. Unions are finished now in that sense. We needed them a long time ago when workers didn't have the protections
rights
they have today. But they have rights. Their rights are enshrined in law.
Yeah.
It was a different time. I grew up in a time, and especially in the Northeast where, workers did not have rights. Workers were exploited.
1848.
Yes, yeah. 1848. I'm going to punch him in a minute. But that's not the case now. And when you have unions like this, I heard one of their members the other day on a radio trying to defend it, saying, my members work really long hours. They're working 12-hour shifts. Well, the reason they're doing that is because they can condense all their hours into 4 days so they get 3 days off. They choose to do those long shifts. So anyway, I'm getting mad again. I'm getting angry again.
But I know you love free speech. You're a champion of free speech.
I am.
And the right to protest. They're just doing what they're legally allowed to. Once a year, they can dispute over pay.
Yeah, but you know what? The country's £3.5 million in debt, JJ. And, you've got to have a brain in you. You've got to say, OK, they've been offered 3.4%. They got 6.6% last November. Mm-hmm. It's a bit cheeky to expect to get that again, especially because what they're doing is they're going to ensure Labour doesn't get into power for the next 30 years because lifelong Labour voters aren't going to deal with this. If you're out in London today, you're hating Labour and you're hating the RMT.
Who's to blame then for these strikes, really? Who's the real person to blame? Is it the Labour government? Is it Eddie Dempsey, head of the RMT?
It's completely the Labour government's fault because they caved into them as soon as they got into power last year. They gave them a shed load of money. And of course, the unions now think because Labour's in power, it's El Dorado. It's money coming out of everywhere. And it's not because Labour has very cleverly put us into massive debt over the past 14 months. So it is their fault, but it's also the union. You've got to think long term. You can't just think short term. I want. There are lots of other people in this country who are earning a fraction of what those tube drivers earn. And yet, yes, they're the people who we should be taking care of, not these pampered train drivers and tube drivers.
Let's get the story started. Eastern Europe, where Poland were forced to shoot down dozens of drones that entered its airspace this morning. According to Zelensky, at least 24 Russian drones entered Poland, with the Deputy Defense Minister of Belarus claiming that the drones that entered Polish airspace did so accidentally. That was after their navigation systems apparently were jammed. Now, Keir Starmer has responded to the overnight events, calling the Russian violation of the Polish airspace egregious and unprecedented and extremely reckless. Listen, I am confused about this. I'm not a Putin apologist, Carole. I'm not. Don't look at me like that. I'm not a Putin apologist. But things malfunction. This is technology.
Are
So
you
a few of his
serious?
drones, when
Serious?
they were jammed and didn't know where they were.
Okay, so Putin, the man who wants to restore the Soviet Union, of which Poland was part, suddenly drones go in there and start on the attack. Now, Poland has quite rightly called on NATO, and they want NATO to invoke Article 5, which means that an attack on Poland is actually an attack on NATO, so that NATO would respond. And they absolutely should respond to this.
You think so?
I think so because, yes, I mean, I'm not saying to attack Russia, but they should be protecting Ukrainian airspace, that's for sure. They should be sending their air power into Ukrainian airspace and to Polish airspace. Because this is Putin pushing the barriers again. It's what he always does. People have been saying for years, if you don't deal with Ukraine properly, and if you don't help Ukraine, he's going to go for Poland next. And hey, presto, what's he doing right now? So NATO has, stood meekly by for years and years while Putin murders people on our soil, when when attacks are committed on our soil, when attacks are committed elsewhere. We've just stood back like dishonorable cowards while he just does what he wants. And now, of course, he's emboldened because he had that big meeting last week with all the leaders and with the Chinese premier. He's emboldened because Trump welcomes him on a red carpet. So he's pushing the barriers again and again to see how far he can go. And that's why NATO has to react right now.
If NATO's so weak, why are we even bothering to be part of it? Why don't we just say, screw NATO, we'll go our own. We'll do it by ourselves. Let's get the French with us, and let's get a bit of money from Trump, and let's go and take out Putin.
Because I think the bottom line is everybody thinks if we attack Putin, it's going to be World War III. I think that's what they think.
I think it will be.
But I don't think it will be, because I think his weaponry is depleted hugely now after the Ukrainian war. He's got no soldiers. He's been dragging people off the streets to go fight. So I think he's at his weakest, the weakest he's been for years. His economy is in the toilet. Inflation is something like 12% over there now, 10, 12%, can't remember. So he is weaker than he's ever been. But he wants to recreate the Soviet Union, and we can't stand idly by as he moves into Poland. He's testing the water. He's waiting to see what we do, and what we can't do is nothing.
Yeah, well, Carole, you are the voice of our readers. One of our comments that have come in says, Putin is testing the West. He well knows that Trump isn't up for defending the NATO alliance. Another one says, why can we protect Polish borders but can't defend ours whilst under invasion by EU-led boat people?
That is a point.
It's a fair point.
That is a very good point.
Yeah.
And while we're on about that, I don't have much faith in the new Home Secretary, do you? Shabana Mahmood.
I think she's going to do okay.
Do you? I don't.
Why not?
I think she can't. I think until we leave the ECHR, until we change the Human Rights Act, there's nothing can be done. All she's doing now is tickling around the edges in exactly the same way as Yvette Cooper did. And on her first day in office, she said, we're going to stop the boats. How stupid is she? That's exactly what Yvette Cooper said. And her reputation is now in the toilet. So, to come out and say something like that on day one is really stupid.
Why do we have to leave the ECHR, though? Do you remember when Cameron was Prime Minister and the EU said, you've got to let prisoners have the vote? And Cameron said, tough that. We're not doing that. Well, screw it.
You're right. In a sense, if this government had the cojones to just say to the ECHR, we're not listening. Because they can, by law they can, because the ECHR rulings, we are only supposed to take them into account, take heed of them. They are not compulsory. We do not have to do what the ECHR says. And Jack Straw said this a couple of weeks ago. And he also said we could change the Human Rights Act. We could amend it in a heartbeat so that we could do what we wanted. And lots of politicians in Ireland have come out in the past week and said it's not going to affect the Good Friday Agreement if we did that. So why aren't we? And you know why we're not? Because we have a Prime Minister who just is wedded to Europe in every which way, wedded to the convention, and we have an Attorney General who is too. So they're not going to do anything when they're in power.
So Carole Malone, are you endorsing a former Labour politician? Are you saying that
Jack Straw, he was one of the Labour politicians when Labour had grown-up people in the party, when they had sensible people who knew what they were doing.
Yep.
Now they don't. So, yeah. And Jack Straw has told the Labour Party this is what they should be doing.
Yeah. Straw and Blair, bring them back. Let's move on. The Peter Mandelson saga is rumbling on today after he refused to rule out that further revelations about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein are set to emerge. He didn't just refuse to rule it out. He admitted and said more embarrassment is going to come. How is this guy Can I call him a guy? I feel too. That feels very respectful.
I know what I'd call him. It's not a guy.
How is this geezer still in a position of power? Why is Starmer putting someone who was openly friends with a known paedophile in such a prestigious role?
This man is a bad one. And he's been a bad one.
The Lord of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness.
Never more apt as that name being right now. You remember he was sacked twice by the Labour government was in power by Tony Blair.
Mm-hmm.
Once for taking 370 odd grand for a mortgage of a millionaire called Jeffrey Robinson, and again for. What was the other thing? I've forgotten. Anyway, he was sacked twice. Oh, he was sacked just before he became European Commissioner as well. That was right. He's a bad one. He cares more about money and power than he does about politics and the people he's supposed to be representing. This is the bloke who lives the kind of life that we could only dream about. And you have to ask where all this money has come from. And over years, I've watched Mandelson being on, the boats, the yachts of oligarchs, and friends with the billionaire Hinduja brothers, and then with Epstein, and I just think this guy wants to be around money and power. He doesn't care about being. He's only in politics to meet those people. He doesn't care about the people that his government is supposed to represent. Mm-hmm. But I blame Starmer for bringing him back. Starmer knew this guy's history. He knows he's slippery. He knows his reputation and his lust for money. He knows about that. And yet he gives them one of the prime jobs in government as ambassador, as UK ambassador in the US. Yeah. To live a life of absolute luxury. And, you've seen how they live it. They've seen the house he's living in. Servants, all the rest of it. And why? What has he done for the party over the past however many years, apart from embarrass it and shame it? Yeah. And yet here he is now in this position of power. And there he is helping Jeffrey Epstein, the paedophile, do financial deals. Yeah. And actually, I mean, I'm sure you've talked about this already this week, where some of the quotes that he's actually said about. There was one quote where he said, sounds like a man who's in love with Jeffrey Epstein. He said, you spend hours waiting for him to turn up, and then when he does, he's soon gone, and then you're lonely again. I'm thinking, he's talking about like this is a relationship with a man that he's in love with or something. Yeah. And it's his sycophantic messages to him. This is him sucking up to rich people to get whatever it is there. He's not fit to be in government. He really isn't. And if Starmer, I'm saying Starmer should sack him. Starmer doesn't sack anybody. He really doesn't.
Well, Starmer has come out today at PMQs and said he has full confidence in Mandelson.
Of course he does. That's what he always says.
Lord Mandelson is playing an important role in the UK-US relationship. Yeah. Maybe he is. As you say, he's a bit slimy. He loves money. He loves power. He's good at scheming and schmoozing people. Isn't this the perfect guy to be around Donald Trump?
Two things. He said he had full confidence in Peter Mandelson. He said that about Angela Rayner until about 10 minutes before she resigned. So that's all well. Said Angela Rayner had done absolutely nothing wrong, by the way. And what was the thing he said? He said
he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
No, he's not, because Donald Trump hates his guts. Donald Trump didn't want him there. He had called Trump the most unutterable names. And then because that job's going back, and he's suddenly a big friend of Trump. And there was a disgusting picture in the White House the other week where he's standing beside him. You can see he's fawning. It's like, he's a slimy, horrible, dodgy man. And he should not have that kind of position, that kind of influence anywhere.
Now, in a very sad story that was featured in the Express today, a newborn baby has tragically died after being savagely attacked by the family's dog. 1-week-old Jason Anthony Weaver, who had only been born on August 28th, was mauled by the 5-year-old Husky Pit Bull crossbreed on Thursday. Shocking story, Carole, from across in the US. Is it the dogs, when this happens, is it the dog's fault? Is it bad ownership? No. Is it bad breeds?
What kind of parent has a dog that it's a cross between a pit bull and a husky, both of which are aggressive? I know that lots of husky owners are going to come on and say, no, they're not. But every time I've come across one, it's attacking my dog. Anyway, they are big, aggressive dogs. And a combination of the both, I can't imagine what the combination of the brain does there. But when you have a week-old baby, you do not let that dog anywhere near. And it doesn't matter whether it's the nicest dog in the world, whether you think you've got it trained. You can't train pit bulls to the point where you can anticipate what they're going to do. So it's the owner's fault. If I had a newborn baby, I wouldn't have that dog in the house, let alone in the same room as a child, because you're just playing fast and loose. And this dog had never had any previous aggression problems. But, when you've given all your attention to a dog for a long time, suddenly a baby comes into the house, a little thing, and the parents are giving all the attention to the baby, quite rightly, the dog can get jealous. And so that is probably what happened. The dog was jealous. But, it is the parents' fault. I actually think there aren't any such things as bad dogs. I think there are bad people who own them, people who can't be bothered to train them, who can't be bothered to put the work in. And, what's the one that's banned in this country? It's a really heavy, big dog.
XL Bully. Thank you,
XL Bully.
producer.
XL Bully. I'm not sure you can ever train them. I think there are some dogs that you maybe can't. And even if you can train them, if those dogs attack, they hang on, and 10 men couldn't get them off. And that's the problem. Why would people want those dogs as pets? I don't get it. I think it's a lot of people who have them do it because it makes them feel big and important. And, we've seen the kind of, I can't condemn all owners of dogs of this, but the ones I've seen who've got XL bullies, one, they're not following the rules. They don't always have them on the leash, and they don't always have them muzzled in public, which they should. But two, they've got them for the reason that they're either fighting them, using them in fights, or it's to make them look good and big and I'm tough, don't mess with me. That's not a reason to have a dog. And I just think, in this country, those dogs should be completely banned. They shouldn't be bred. Never mind any concessions made for them. But this, the parents here, it's irresponsible, but that's never going to help them get over the death of their child.
Yeah.
They're going to feel guilty for the rest of their lives that this happened. And yes, they did wrong. Yes, the dog shouldn't be anything, but that doesn't help them come to terms with this or get over it.
Well, Carole, once again, in this episode, you've proven to be the voice of the Express reader, because
good.
Two of the comments that we have. First one, a cross between a pit bull and a husky is a nightmare waiting to happen, especially in the hands of uneducated owners. I don't know anything about dogs, but I did not know that huskies are particularly aggressive dogs.
Yeah, I mean, they can be aggressive. Whenever I'm in the park with Murphy, I've got a Tibetan Terrier who looks like a little Disney dog. You see them, other dogs approach them and their hackles go. It's almost like they're always ready to fight.
Okay.
And there's a couple have gone for my dog, and the owner, both times there were guys, and they were quite big guys, they literally couldn't control them. I mean, they literally had to hang on to them. So if you can't keep control of your dog, even if it's on a leash, you shouldn't have that dog, basically.
Another comment. Dogs get jealous of babies getting all the attention in the dog's home. They should not be trusted alone with a baby. Another point you made.
Yeah, it's just, I see my little dog. If I'm in the park with Murph and I pat someone else's dog, he gets cross.
Oh yeah,
because I'm showing a bit of attention to someone else. He doesn't like it. So imagine with a baby. Imagine the attention the parents are giving the baby.
I do like seeing pictures of you. You hashtag Murphy and Malone.
I know.
Have you ever got into trouble for your dog?
Of course. All the time, because even when he's done wrong, I'll say he hasn't, because he's my dog. But I was in Richmond Park recently, stopped by a copper, a Met police officer, can you believe, who said to me, "Your dog's not on a lead." I said, "He doesn't have to be."
Well, sorry, you're in the park and your dog was not on a lead.
Yes.
Is that legal?
It is absolutely legal. And what they had, it was the birthing season for deer at the time. So they had a sign in the park saying, "Please keep your dog on the lead for the birthing season." So this was near the end of the birthing season. But the most important point in all of this was that I could see for 10 miles around me and there wasn't a deer in sight, because they tend not to give birth in front of people. They tend to go away into a thicket and do it on their own. Anyway. So, but what I couldn't understand, this cop was going on and on. I said, "You can't charge me with anything because I'm not breaking a law." I said, "So what?" Then he said, "What's your name?" I said, "I'm not giving you my name. Don't have to." He goes, "What's your dog's name?" So what, you're going to charge Murphy, are you? I don't think I did say you're going to charge him. But I got so cross because outside the park, crime is raging. People are getting hurt, battered. Things are being stolen. And he's in the park having a go with people like me, with my dog, who was walking quite peaceably alongside me.
I don't know, Carol. If
You
I'm
know
in
what
the
I mean?
park, I want to feel safe. I don't want people like you walking around with your
Well,
dogs terrorizing
my
birthing
dog-
deers.
If my dog was coming at you, he's going to lick you to death, not tear you apart.
Okay, change of pace here. So, and finally, a shocking story from across the pond has reignited the death penalty debate and has drawn emotional comments from Donald Trump. Irina Zarutska, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, was knifed to death in cold blood last month in South Carolina. It is what appears to have been a totally random attack. To Carlos Brown Jr., who has an extensive criminal history with 14 previous arrests, is accused of murder. The video of the killing has been shared widely on social media, and quite frankly, it's horrifying. President Trump sent love and hope to Miss Zarutska's family, saying that her killing was horrible. He added, "There are evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country." And I think Trump is absolutely right. Let me know in the comments below what you think on this horrible, horrible case. Carol, I don't care what the guy's race is. I don't care what his mental health situation is.
No.
The video I watched was horrific. People are having to write stories as journalists saying alleged. There's nothing alleged about it. We've seen the actions. For me, death penalty. Simple as that.
I think I met a lawyer a long time ago who prosecuted murderers, and he said, "Whatever anybody tells you, believe me when I tell you, some people are born evil." He said, and there's nothing society, there's nothing that rehab, there's nothing prison will ever do to change it. They are evil. He particularly handled cases where adults had raped and murdered children. And he said, believe it, some people are born evil. And I believe that is the case. And if that is the case, I hate calling for the death penalty. I hate the idea of it. I think civilized countries don't have it. But, if you're going to lock someone up for 45 years in a prison and it's going to cost you and me and everyone else money to keep them in some kind of style, I don't really want that either. So, I think for certainly for paedophiles, for people who rape and murder children and abuse children, I think most people would think the death penalty was a fitting penalty for them.
Yeah.
Because I've interviewed paedophiles in the past, and they have said to me, "I can't stop. It's something in me. I can't stop. You'd have to kill me." So, and when you hear them say that, you can chemically castrate them, of course, those people, but
I support that fully.
so do I. But they can stop taking the pills.
Yeah.
That's the point. Because they're driven by something that you and I will never understand. But, America has the death penalty, but they still keep people in prison for years and years and years before they. But, isn't the terror of the death penalty? I mean, what you've described, I haven't seen this film, but what you've described, if you see it happening, it's happened.
Yeah.
But we know that people have died unnecessarily, people who didn't commit the crime.
Yeah, miscarriages of justice,
That
of course.
would be my greatest fear on that you hang someone or you put someone to sleep with a chemical and they haven't committed the crime. And that's why it was abolished in the first place. And you can never run away from that argument. It still exists.
Yeah, absolutely. But this poor woman fled Ukraine, comes to what she thinks is a safe country, and then is murdered
in cold blood.
In cold blood. Well, Cal, thank you. That's been an absolute
I'm
whirlwind.
worn out now.
Yeah, well, we'll get you some more caffeine.
Okay.
Another shot of espresso.
Oh, that's all I need. Not.
The caffeine has officially worn off. You can see Carol is exhausted, and that is all we have time for. Thank you for watching the Daily Expresso. Join us again tomorrow, where we are joined by Tory MP Esther McVey.